Saber Interactive has crafted the ultimate love letter to everything Warhammer 40K, evolving its third-person shooter sequel into the modern age with blood, guts, and ease. There's so much about Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 that reminded me of a simpler time in video games. A time when having fun meant flooding the screen with dozens of aliens to blast, and a story concerning meathead Marine soldiers offered a good enough excuse to never let the cathartic, rip and tear action let up. In all these ways and more, Saber Interactive's direct sequel to Relic Entertainment's cult classic shooter, set in the 40K universe, brilliantly pays tribute to its unabashedly old school and somewhat schlocky nature. Only now, however, it fuses the tenets of that original 2011 title with modern visuals and spectacle to make slaughtering legions of enemies endlessly stunning. Proceedings in Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 pick up nearly 2 centuries following Captain Titus's prior run-in with the Orc armies in Gaia almost 200 years before. And though no explicit knowledge of these events is required to enjoy this sequel, it definitely added an extra layer of context I came to appreciate in terms of where Titus's headspace is at, how he survived, and the reason for his recent demotion within his new Ultramarine chapter. If you're just jumping into this world of Warhammer 40k totally fresh here, I'm not sure Space Marine 2 does the best job at explaining the circumstances of this world. You'll start off not knowing your Adeptus Astartes from your Adeptus Mechanicus, for instance. But from a basic gameplay and story perspective, all you need know is that worlds are being invaded and it's your squad of battle brothers charged with stopping them. Of course, the main enemy this time around are the Tyranids, which when compared to the orcs of before are a far more hostile and overwhelming force to fight. And sure, while very few Tyranid units tend to attack you at range, watching hordes and hordes of them regularly melt over the surrounding environments towards you still makes them a formidable sight to behold. It's here where the power of Saber Interactive's in-house swarm engine truly pays off, able to depict a frankly unbelievable number of enemies on screen. It's through fighting such insurmountable odds that Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 does an excellent job at placing you firmly at the forefront of an intergalactic war, being just one of several ways the game astounds from a sheer technical perspective. I wouldn't say the narrative tying these grand events together is Shakespeare. That said, over the course of the 10-hour campaign, I still found the rug pulled out from under me a couple times, and longtime 40k fans will get a kick out of certain character appearances. At first, the relationship Titus has with fellow squad members Gadriel and Chiron is one of frustration, to the point where I was left begging for the relapsed captain to just be honest with them about his past, if only to put an end to their frequent squabbling. Watching these three necklace troops slowly come together ends up being one of the narrative's most fulfilling aspects though, particularly during the campaign's back half when the menace consists of more than mindless Tyranids and it's time to come together. Speaking of which, regardless of which of the two main enemy factions you face, dispatching them is always made incredibly gratifying thanks to the airtight shooting controls and the game's neat blend of hack and slash melee and ranged combat. Simply gunning down bugs using an auto bolt rifle or plasma pistol feels great thanks to the way bullets sound and their nature to see the blood gush, but this is made better by the parry and stagger system. The former works by having you tap the block button whenever an enemy flashes blue, at which point Titus will instantly counter with a killing blow. Equally as gruesome are when you've dealt enough damage to have an enemy flash red, letting you engage any one of a potential dozen grisly animations based on that enemy type and the particular weapon you're using. Needless to say, ripping off a Tyranid's own tail and jamming it into its gut never got old, and this is just one of many ways that Space Marine 2 literally gets gutsy. You might think that mercilessly gunning down swaths of foes would get old, and this was something I started to think might be true around a third of the way in. However, Space Marine 2 knows exactly when to subtly shake things up to stave off the repetition, be it in the form of a change of planet in which to wreak the destruction on, new weapons to do it with, or a newly unexpected screen-sized boss to fight. It's true that the game never deviates from its gameplay pillars much in terms of what's asked of you, but for me at least, its mix of chainsaw slashing and gunplay never got tiring. Both are just that good to pull off. And true, while there's maybe one too many lifts to take and points to defend as part of the main campaign, either alone in single player or in co-op with up to 2 other friends, Space Marine 2 routinely finds fresh ways to put your trigger finger to work. So many of Space Marine 2's aspects being indicative of that PS3, Xbox 360 era means it shouldn't be surprising to learn that, In addition to a campaign, it makes a play for your time with an equally as chaotic PvE mode and a nice to have but totally unnecessary PvP mode. The former is called Operations and consists of 6 missions that take place in parallel to the base campaign, showing a new perspective to the war against the Tyranids and later Chaos forces. Having only heard about threats such as the Hive Tyrant mentioned before, it was cool to live out this battle with friends as another unit. Operations even comes with its own set of distinct Ultramarine classes, complete with their own skill tree, perks, and aesthetic unlocks that make dipping back in on higher difficulties an absolute must. My favourite to play was the Vanguard, if only for its unique ability to shoot over to enemies in an instant using the grapple hook. Having said that, the Heavy's bullet-stopping shield also has its uses. Then yes, finally, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 indeed features a PvP mode called Eternal War, where 2 teams of battle brothers go at it in one of 3 distinct game modes, such as Annihilation, Capture and Control, and Seizure. Due to the lack of players around during the review period and ensuing timeout errors, I only played a couple matches, but what little I played seemed solid enough, and I was pleased to see that my armor and weapon cosmetics from Operations carried over. Honestly, I'm not sure if Eternal War will have any staying power, but it takes absolutely nothing away from the overall package and is still a nice addition. Having only 6 operation missions at launch is my greater concern, as the likes of Helldivers 2 has already proven just how quickly a dedicated fanbase can chew through content. Hopefully, Saber Interactive has more cooked up soon, alongside the already announced Horde mode set to come. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is one of the biggest surprises of 2024. Not only is it a bigger, better sequel that improves exponentially via its visuals, gameplay, and sheer mode variety, it's also a reminder that there can still be a place in everyone's gaming palette for a rough and tough shooter that doesn't care about being high art if treated with enough time, care, and passion. Sure, the reliance on lore will leave newcomers flummoxed, and some Xbox 360 era sensibilities still bleed their way into mission design, but the crunchy combat, impressive graphics, and generous suite of game mode options stave off these minor quibbles. We at Mirror Gaming give Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 a 4 out of 5. Do you plan on picking this one up? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.